This module focuses on first grade comprehension standards, specifically describing characters, setting, and major events using key details while reading literary text and describing connections between two individuals, events, or ideas in informational text. First grade students should be able to describe characters, setting, and major events using key details of a literary text in order to gain meaning, understanding, and improve comprehension. They should also be able to describe connections between two individuals, events, or ideas in an informational text in order to improve comprehension. However, some students may not have been taught these skills yet or don't fully understand how to do this. This lesson will provide students with an opportunity to focus on retelling the beginning, middle, and end of a text while focusing on the characters, setting, or settings, and major events in a literary text, and on describing connections between two individuals, events, or ideas in informational text. These activities will be done with partners and in a small group setting, but could be done in a whole group setting if that best fits the needs of your students. The length of this support lesson is about 25 minutes, but could be lengthened or shortened to support your needs and the needs of your students. This lesson assumes that your students will have an understanding of 3 crucial classroom strategies, one of which is an ELA skill, the ability to read closely for details and determine the main idea. The other 2 are the instructional strategies of turn and talks, which will be woven throughout the lesson, and the knowledge of using Venn diagrams in order to make comparisons. Students should also have had previously heard the text Snow Science and The Snowy Day. 2 of the materials needed will be the retelling anchor chart and the picture book The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. Other materials needed for this lesson are sequencing cards for The Snowy Day, the informational text Snow Science from ReadWorks, the text Tony's First Day of School from ReadWorks, a copy of the 5-finger retell anchor chart, sticky notes, and the exit tickets. A full list of materials needed can be found in the lesson plan. The instructional sequence will take about 5 to 10 minutes. During this portion of the lesson, you tell students that you will be looking at and reading or rereading the story The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. Tell them that strong readers look across the story, beginning, middle, and end, so that we can describe the elements, characters, setting, and major events of the story in detail. You will be introducing and creating the retelling anchor chart with your students as you read through the first few pages of The Snowy Day. Use the Think Aloud strategy to demonstrate how to identify the characters and setting and model how to use a sticky note to respond to those questions on the anchor chart. Now that you have modeled how to do this work, you will finish reading the text aloud. Students will then use the sequencing cards with their partner to discuss what happens to the character or characters of the story, the middle of the story, and add a sticky note to the anchor chart. Students will then turn and talk with their partner and discuss how the character or characters may be different now than they were at the beginning of the story, endings of the story, and add a sticky note to the chart. Students will then take turns retelling the story, beginning, middle, and end. They may use the sequencing cards to guide their retell. This part of the lesson is very teacher-led at the beginning in order to scaffold the students early on for a gradual release of learning. The active engagement of this lesson is about 10 minutes. As the teacher, you have modeled the strategy for the students with literary text, but now students will be working with informational text. Therefore, this active engagement will be slightly more teacher-led than is typical. Before you read the text, Snow Science, aloud to your students, say something like, "Readers, we have been working with fiction stories, but now I want you to know that we can do the same work with nonfiction. We are going to reread Snow Science. As we do, I want you to listen for the main idea of the entire text. What is this article mostly about?" Then, reread the text aloud to your students. After, say something like, "There are multiple sections to this article, and each one has its own main idea. But if we were to decide on the main idea of the whole article, what do you think it would be?" As a group, discuss this with your students. Using the 5-finger retell strategy anchor chart, you will demonstrate how to write the main idea in the palm or center of the hand. Students will then work in partnerships to share out their key ideas to support the main idea. The details will be charted into the fingers of the anchor chart by the teacher. Students will then be asked to make a connection between two different sections of the text, Snow Science, and chart that information on a Venn diagram. The purpose of the link is to remind students of what you would like them to do during their independent reading time. One way to do this is to review the anchor charts you created together as a small group and then explicitly tell students. Today, when you go off to read, remember strong readers can describe characters, settings, and major events in a story using key details and literary texts. They can also describe connections between two individual events, ideas, or pieces of information during an informational text. This helps readers make meaning of their stories. The final part of the lesson is a formative assessment in the form of an exit ticket. During this assessment, the teacher will read aloud Tony's first day of school. After you've read aloud the story, students will independently retell the story beginning, middle, and end while focusing on characters, setting, and key events. This is an example of the exit ticket. Students will need additional practice describing characters, settings, and major events in a story using key details, and additional practice describing connections between two individuals, events, or ideas in order to become proficient at it. Some additional resources are listed here, such as the First Grade MESA Launching Unit and the Curriculum Corner. However, there is a full list of resources for both teachers and students listed in the lesson plan. Listed here are the Common Core state standards addressed in this lesson.